What if I told you that one single act of kindness, one moment of courage, could not only save someone else's life, but also rewrite your own destiny and that of your entire family? It sounds like something out of a movie, right? But this is a real story, one that happened thousands of years ago, centered around a woman named Rahab. Now, Rahab lived in the ancient city of Jericho. Jericho was a fortress, a city with massive impenetrable walls. It was a place of power. But Rahab wasn't a queen or a noble woman. The Bible tells us she was a prostitute, living a life on the margins of her society, likely judged and looked down upon by the very people she lived among. Her home was literally built into the city wall, a precarious and humble existence. One day, two strangers arrive in Jericho. These weren't just any travelers. They were Israelite spies sent by their leader, Joshua, to scope out the land God had promised them. Jericho was their first major obstacle. The king of Jericho gets word of these spies almost immediately, and he's not happy. He sends his soldiers straight to the one place the spies were seen going, Rahab's house. Imagine the scene. There's a loud, aggressive banging on her door. The king demands you bring out the men who came to you. They are spies. Her heart must have been pounding out of her chest. She had a choice to make, a choice that would seal her fate in an instant. She could turn them over, which was the safe, logical thing to do. It would please the king and keep her out of trouble. Or she could protect these strangers, men from an enemy nation, and risk immediate execution for treason. What does she do? She calmly faces the king's men and lies straight to their faces. She says, "Yes, the men were here, but I didn't know where they were from. They left a little while ago, just before the city gate was about to close. If you hurry, you can probably catch them." As the soldiers race off into the twilight on a wild goose chase, Rahab is hiding the two spies up on her roof, concealed under stalks of flax that she had laid out to dry. Why would she do this? Why risk everything for two strangers? This is where the story gets really incredible. After the soldiers leave, she goes up to the roof and tells the spies something astonishing. She says, "I know that the Lord has given you this land. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt. And as soon as we heard it, our hearts melted in fear." Think about that dot. While the king of Jericho and his mighty army were trusting in their big walls and military strength, Rahab, the woman on the fringes, was paying attention to a different kind of power. She had heard the stories of the God of Israel, a God who parts seas and wins battles. She had faith. She saw that the God of these two strangers was the true God, the God of heaven and earth. Her act of hiding them wasn't just a random act of kindness. It was a profound act of faith. She then makes a deal with them. She says, "Since I have shown you kindness, please swear to me by the Lord that you will show kindness to my family. Spare my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them." The spies agree. They tell her to hang a scarlet cord from her window, the very window she would use to help them escape down the city wall. This red cord would be a sign, a marker for the Israelite army. When they came to conquer Jericho, every person inside the house marked by that scarlet cord would be spared. And that's exactly what happened. The Israelites, led by Joshua, marched around Jericho for 7 days. On the 7th day they shouted, the trumpets blasted, and those impenetrable walls came crashing down. The city was completely destroyed, but amidst all the chaos and destruction, one section of the wall miraculously remained standing, the part where Rahab's house was. Joshua kept his promise. The spies went in and brought Rahab and her entire family out to safety. Rahab's story is so powerful because it shows that God doesn't look at our social status, our past mistakes, or where we come from. He looks at our heart. He saw faith in a place no one else would think to look. Rahab went from being an outcast in a doomed city to being grafted into the lineage of Israel. In fact, her story doesn't end there. If you trace the family line all the way down, you'll find her name listed in the genealogy of Jesus Christ himself. Her one act of courage, rooted in faith, didn't just open the door for her own salvation. It placed her forever in the greatest story ever told. It's a timeless reminder. Sometimes the most unlikely people have the strongest faith, and one brave choice can change everything. What walls are you trusting in today? Your job, your money, your own strength? Maybe it's time to look beyond the walls and, like Rahab, place your faith in the one who can make them fall. Stand for the word, like, share, and subscribe.